The night they sold me to the Mafia King, I wore my mother's wedding dress. It hung loose on me now. I had lost weight from the arguing, the lawyers, the long nights listening to my father cry behind his study door. But he said it didn't matter. Nobody was coming to look at the bride anyway. Nobody in that church would meet my eyes. Not the priest, not the 2 old women in the back pew who had known me since I was 6. A Moretti wedding, people whispered behind their hands, is not a celebration. It is a transaction with flowers. And then he walked in. Dante Moretti, the man who owned half this city and terrified the other half. He stood at the altar like something carved out of winter tall, all black, a thin scar splitting his left eyebrow. He did not smile. Men like him never do. But when he lifted my veil, I saw his hand. It was trembling, the most feared man in the state, trembling as he looked at my face. "You don't remember me, do you?" he whispered. So low the priest couldn't hear. Then he slid the ring onto my finger, and the deal was done. I said, "I do," to a stranger, in a dead woman's dress, while my father wept with relief in the front row. To understand how a 24-year-old librarian ends up there, I have to take you back 3 weeks. To the night my father finally told me the truth. "We're ruined, Elena." My father didn't look up from his desk. Carlo Vitali had been a proud man once, an importer, a good name, a house with lemon trees. Then came the gambling. First cards with friends, then casinos, then rooms I wasn't supposed to know about. He owed money to people who don't file lawsuits. They don't call lawyers. They call at 3 in the morning, and they take payments in fingers. That night he showed me the number. I counted the zeros twice. There were 6 of them, and not one belonged to us. "There's one way out," he said. "The Moretti family bought my markers. All of them. And their price isn't money." I remember laughing, because the alternative was screaming. "What do they want, Papa?" He finally looked at me, and his eyes were already at my funeral. A wife. The offer was simple and obscene. Dante Moretti, head of the family, the ghost who ran the docks and half the police, would erase every cent of the debt. In exchange, a Vitali daughter would marry him. A name from an old family to polish his. Blood for respectability. It was supposed to be Bianca. My stepsister is everything. I'm not beautiful, fearless, the kind of woman men start wars over. She took one look at the proposal, packed 2 suitcases, and vanished to Milan with a racing driver. She left a note. "Better you than me, little sister." So it was me, the quiet one, the one who shelved books at the public library and had been on 4 dates in her life. My stepmother cried for a day, then started calling it an honor. My father stopped meeting my eyes entirely. And I signed nothing, because nobody asked me to. The week before the wedding, 2 men in grey suits delivered a box to our door. Inside was my mother's ring, resized, and a single card with handwriting like a knife edge. It was hers. It should be yours. I never found out how he got it. My mother had pawned it the year she died. The Moretti estate sat on a cliff above the sea, 40 minutes from the city, all stone and iron gates, with roses growing wild along the walls, like the place was pretending to be something softer than it was. My room faced the water. It was bigger than our whole house. Rosa, the housekeeper, gave me the rules on my first morning. Breakfast when you wake. Gardens are yours. Mr. Moretti dines at 8 and expects you at the table. Then she lowered her voice, though we were alone. "The west wing is locked. Don't try the doors. Don't ask why. Of course, a locked wing. Because apparently I had married a man out of a Gothic novel. I spent that first week waiting for cruelty and finding none. No raised voice, no locked door on my room. Just absence. He was gone before I woke, home after I slept. Apolite ghost. But the strangest things kept happening. On the second night, a fire was already lit in my room when the sea wind turned cold. On the 4th, gardenias appeared on my windowsill. My mother's favorite flower. I had never told a living soul that. I decided not to ask. I asked anyway. How did you know about the gardenias? I asked at dinner. My first full sentence to him in 4 days. Dante didn't look up from his plate. You wrote about them once, he said. A blog. You were 17. You said the smell reminded you of safety. My fork stopped halfway. You read my blog? I read everything you wrote. He said it the way other men say, pass the salt. Then, quieter. It was well written. You should write again. That night I lay awake until 3, telling myself it was surveillance. It didn't feel like surveillance. It felt like being seen. He gave me the library on the first Sunday. Not gave, he simply said, it's yours. The way you'd mention the weather. 2 floors of books, a ladder on brass rails, a window seat facing the sea. I have never wanted to cry over a room before. I nearly did. And the collection. First editions of the exact novels I had loved at 16. The out-of-print poetry collection I had searched 5 years for and once complained about online. Every book I had ever mentioned wanting, standing on those shelves like soldiers. 12 years of my wishes, catalogued. I confronted him with my back against the poetry shelf, because my knees felt unreliable. What is this? Did you buy a wife? Or did you collect one? For the first time, Dante Moretti looked almost uncomfortable. Both answers are unflattering, he said. Try to believe the better one. We had dinner every night after that. He was not what the newspapers said, or not only that. He was precise. He listened, actually listened, the way powerful men never do. He knew the name of every maid, every guard, every gardener's sick mother. Fear had built his empire. Attention held it together. But the West Wing stayed locked, and at night, sometimes, I heard cars come and go, at hours no honest business keeps. Once, at 2 a.m, I watched from my window as he stood on the cliff lawn alone, a phone to his ear, his free hand clenched around something invisible. The storm hit on the 12th night, the power died at midnight, and the whole house went black and roaring with wind. I took a candle to find Rosa and found his study door open instead firelight inside, and Dante standing at the window with his jacket off. That's when I saw it. Along his ribs, pale against his side, a long scar I knew better than my own handwriting. A knife scar. I had pressed my own scarf against that wound 12 years ago, on a dock at midnight, while a 16-year-old boy bled and told me to run. 12 years. I was 12, walking home along the harbour because the bus never came. 3 men had a boy cornered behind the fish market. He fought like a wolf and lost like a boy. I did the only thing a 12-year-old with a big mouth could do. I screamed for the police at the top of my lungs. The men ran. The boy was bleeding from his side, and I pressed my blue scarf against it and told him to hold on. He looked at me like I was the strange one, a girl who wasn't afraid of blood. Before the sirens came, he pressed something into my hand. A cheap brass compass. So you'll never be lost, he said. Then he was gone, and I never saw him again. I kept that compass in a shoebox, then a desk drawer, then my first apartment. I told the story at parties as the night I was brave. I never once connected the boy to the name Moretti. It was you. The candle shook in my hand. Dante turned from the window, and for a moment he looked exactly like that bleeding boy. It was me, he said. 3 of my uncle's men, settling a score, and a girl with a blue scarf who wasn't afraid of anything. You remembered. I never forgot a single detail. He said the compass was junk bought with his first dishonest money at a harbour stall, but you kept it. I didn't ask how he knew. By then I already understood. Dante Moretti had been watching me for 12 years. So I asked the question that had been eating me alive. My father's debt. Did you really buy it to save him? Silence. The storm filled it. Dante, did you even buy it? He walked to his desk, unlocked a drawer, and laid a folder in front of me. I created it, page after page. My father's losses. At casinos, I had never heard of casinos Dante's people owned. The men who invited him. The credit they extended. It was all there. Dates and signatures. My father hadn't fallen into a trap. The trap had been built for him, board by board, over 2 years. Why? My voice came out small. Because the Rossi family was already moving on him, Dante said. They were going to take his debts, his hands, and then his daughters, starting with you. I know how they work. I was raised in their world. His jaw tightened. So I got there first. You ruined my father to save him? I gave his ruin a gentler owner. He didn't flinch, and I will give him that. The Rossis take brides too. They just don't ask, and they don't give them libraries. You can hate me, Elena, but hate me alive. I wanted to slap him. I wanted to thank him. Mostly I wanted to know why a man who owned half a city would spend 2 years engineering one awkward librarian into his house. So I asked. And Dante Moretti, who faced down senators, looked at the fire like a boy at the docks. Because a girl once told me to hold on, he said. And I held on for 12 years, because every time my world tried to make me a monster, I remembered someone had seen me and seen a boy instead. I didn't buy you, Elena. I came home. That night, for the first time, the West Wing door stood open. I don't know what I expected. Guns, money, a dungeon. It was a war room, maps, photographs of men I didn't know, connected by red string. And on the main wall, a file with my name on it. He found me there at dawn. I wasn't afraid. That's the part I still can't explain. The Rossis know the debt moved, he said, handing me the file. They know about you. Everything in there is how they could come for you. Roots, people, weak points, mine. You're showing me your weaknesses. I'm showing you yours. Inside were photographs of me, the library, the harbour walk, my mother's grave. Not obsession, threat assessment. For 12 years he had quietly moved every danger an inch further from my life, and I had never felt a thing. Why tell me now? Because the file has a new page. He handed me a photograph that arrived that morning, left at the gates in a white box. It was Bianca's bracelet, my stepsister, the racing driver, Milan. Across the back, in ink I still dream about, the little sister will do. The house went to war footing in an hour. Gates sealed. Men I had never seen materialized along the walls. And Dante stood in the hall with my coat in his hands and a choice on his face that cost him more than any casino. Pack nothing. We leave in 10 minutes. I could have run, down the cliff path, to the village, to a police station out of his world and back to my quiet one. He would have let me. That's the thing about the devil you married. Sometimes he loves you enough to open the cage door. Instead I took my coat, and I took the brass compass out of my pocket, where it had lived for 12 years without me knowing why. Where are we going? I asked, and Dante Moretti smiled for the first time, the boy from the docks, all teeth and trouble. To end it. They say every Moretti marriage ends in blood. Mine began with it, a bleeding boy, a blue scarf, and a debt built to break my father. What happened in Milan, with Bianca, and the night the Rossis came to our door, that's next time. If you want to hear it, you know where to find me.